is limited to ensuring an orderly hearing so that an accurate record of the hearing may be developed for the department's evaluation. On behalf of the department, I would like to welcome you to this hearing. The subject of this hearing is the proposed revisions to Chapters 10 and 11 of the Water Quality Program Regulations found in Division 6 of the Alabama Administrative Code. Notice of the date, time, place, and purpose of this hearing was published on or before October 23, 2022 in newspapers with circulation in each county of the state. Copies of the certifications of these publications will be entered into the hearing record. On October 21st, the department also caused the same notice to be sent to 1,108 individuals and organizations requesting advance notice of rulemaking. A listing of the individuals and organizations notified will be entered into the hearing record. A copy of the proposed rules was filed with the Administrative Procedures Division of Legislative Services Agency, and a copy was furnished to the Joint Committee on Administrative Regulation Review on October 20th, 2022. A copy of the notice was also published in the Alabama Administrative Monthly, Volume 41, Issue 1, on October 31st, 2022. These facts are attested to by Othni Lathram, Director of the Legislative Services Agency, by affidavit, which will be entered into the hearing record. Copies of the proposed rule revisions have been available for inspection by the public at the ADEM field offices in Birmingham, Mobile, and Decatur, and the ADEM main office in Montgomery. The proposed rule revisions have also been available on the ADEM website at adem.alabama.gov. A copy of the proposed rule revisions and the summary of reasons supporting the proposed rule revisions will be entered into the hearing record. This hearing is being conducted to provide the public an opportunity to present data, views, questions, and arguments on the proposed rule revisions. It is open to the public, and anyone wishing to present oral testimony may do so. In addition to oral testimony, written comments may also be submitted. Written comments are given the same consideration as those that are presented in person at this hearing. As of the time of this hearing, the department has received written comments from several commenters. This hearing is being recorded by a court reporter, and a transcript will be included in the public record. Lengthy statements containing considerable technical or other significant data should be submitted for the record in writing. Summaries of such statements may be presented orally. All testimony and written statements should be as factual as possible and should address the subject of this hearing. This hearing is not intended as a question and answer session. However, you may pose a comment in the form of a question to be addressed by the department in its response to comments. Persons giving testimony will not be subject to questioning by the public. They may, however, be questioned by the hearing officer or any other representative of the department to clarify points and to develop a better understanding of the information being presented. Before proceeding with the receipt of public comments, Ms. Jennifer Hasselbauer of the Water Quality Branch will provide a brief summary of the proposed rule revisions on behalf of ADEM.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Hasselbauer, Chief of the Standards and Planning Section, Water Quality Branch, Water Division, Alabama Department of Environmental Management, and I will make a brief statement on behalf of the department. Water quality standards are adopted by the state pursuant to state and federal law to protect the quality of Alabama's waters. Water quality standards consist of three main elements: the beneficial uses designated for each state water, the numeric and narrative criteria established to protect those designated uses, and an anti-degradation policy. The department published a notice requesting data, views, and comments from interested persons regarding proposed revisions to Chapter 335-6-10 and Chapter 335-6-11 of the state's administrative code, which respectively list water quality criteria and water use classifications for surface waters. This hearing is being held to receive public comment on these proposed changes. The revisions proposed for Chapter 335-6-10 involve Rule 10-.02 definitions, Rule 10-.05 general conditions applicable to all water quality criteria, and Rule toxic pollutant criteria applicable to state waters, Rule 10-.08 waste treatment requirements, and Rule 10-.09 specific water quality criteria. The majority of the proposed changes for Chapter 335-6-10 involve the clarification of existing language. The entire list of proposed revisions for Chapter 335-6-10 were specified in the summary of reasons. The revisions proposed for Chapter 335-6-11 involve Rule 11-.02 use classifications and include the upgrade of Coosa River from Dead River to Jordan Dam to an outstanding Alabama water use classification, removal of the public water supply use classification from water bodies that are not being utilized as a public water supply source, the correction of upstream and downstream locations, and the correction of water body names to correspond with the GNIS, Geographical Name Information System. The entire list of proposed revisions for Chapter 335-6-11 were specified in the summary of reasons. In closing, I would like to say again that the purpose of this hearing is to receive public input regarding the specific changes to water quality standards being proposed by the department at this time. We appreciate your input and involvement in this process. I, along with other members of the ADEM staff, will be available after the hearing to respond to questions and assist with any requests for additional information.
Thank you. We've reached the time for the receipt of public comments. When making a statement, please step to the podium and then state your name and any interest or organization that you represent. I now recognize Mr. Patrick Cagle.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Cagle. I'm president of the Alabama Mining Association. We represent mining companies throughout Alabama. The mission of the Alabama Mining Association is to promote the safe and sustainable mining of the natural resources that strengthen our infrastructure and grow our economy. We appreciate the opportunity to speak on proposed changes to Division 6 regulations, and ours is going to be pretty narrowly tailored. We have some concern about just one change within the entire scope of them, and that's to Rule 335-6-10-.2, Item 11. And that item will add ground to the definition of state waters or waters of the state. Our concern is that the unintended consequences of this could be significant, and really it's hard to know what they are. We understand that the Alabama Code contains groundwater, and the goal is to make it more closely aligned with that, but we think it really warrants a thorough review. The code section 22-22-1B2, which contains groundwater, hasn't been amended in 40 years. It was passed in the same act that created ADEM, so the two have never aligned. So we think that if it's going to be a change, it needs to be thoroughly considered, and that ought to be presented as a separate rulemaking, where the analysis can be put out, and we can understand the goals, and then more closely review any unintended consequences. And I'll give I think a relevant example that we point out in our written comments, which I'll provide a copy of, is just how important words matter when it goes to the courts. While we work in regulations every day, just like you do, courts don't. They really hang on each word, and it wasn't that long ago that the Solid Waste Division realized that when it was understood by the regulated community in ADEM that what daily cover meant. Statute said earthen cover. A lawsuit came and a court said that that only applied, that's only earthen cover. So the legislature had to go and change that after a lot of confusion, a lot of delays that were unnecessary. So when courts look at it, they look at very literal, and none of us have the privilege of being there when a judge makes a ruling. So we think considering things for unintended consequences is important. And what we ask is that ADEM withdraw this one definition, adding ground to the definition of state consider that as a separate rulemaking. So, thank you, appreciate the chance to provide some brief comments today, and I'll hand over the written copy.
Thank you. I now recognize Jared Schatz.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I represent the Birmingham Waterworks Board. I'm the Regulatory Compliance Officer for the company. I'm here to make comments on the change of use classification for Lost Creek. Lost Creek is a tributary to the Locust Fork of the Black Warrior River. It is surrounded by coal mining land, as well as having an active coal mine next to the creek. And the Locust Fork is used for drinking water for the Birmingham metropolitan area, including cities such as Birmingham, Bessemer, Hoover, Mountain Brook, and I can go on, representing approximately 250,000 of the population of the area. Currently, the use classification on Lost Creek is one for public water supply. That allows for some protection of the water quality in that area, and we are concerned that changing that classification will be a detriment to the water quality in the area. So we are against that change of use for that creek. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody who has not had a chance to complete a registration card who wishes to speak at this time? Let the record reflect that there is no response. The final hearing record will include a transcript of this hearing, all written submissions and exhibits, and a response by the department to each relevant comment received by the hearing officer before 5:00 p.m. today, December 12, 2022, at the ADEM offices in Montgomery. When a final decision has been made, ADEM will forward the final draft of the proposed rule revisions, a concise statement of the principal reasons for and against adoption of the proposed rule revisions, and the reasons for overruling any considerations urged against their adoption, to the Environmental Management Commission for its consideration and possible adoption. Once complete, this record will be available for public inspection in the office of the Department of Environmental Management in Montgomery. Thank you for your attendance and participation this afternoon. This hearing is adjourned.